environmental planning, community planning, permaculture, and sustainability. Steve lives in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and participates in a wide range of grassroots efforts that promote sustainability, and he's also in his hometown, Smithfield, and he graduated from URI. So, join me in welcoming Steve Whitman.
Thanks, Tia. Welcome, everybody. We put together this evening to try to really support the work that's being done here in Smithfield by Revive the Roots. So while the ground, Gary and I were talking about the ground is sleeping and you think that really nothing's happening out there at Maori Gardens, there's a tremendous amount that's happening with the folks that are in the back of the room that are working on this project. With that project that they'll talk more about this evening and with other projects elsewhere in the state that they're working on. And because what they're doing here in Rhode Island is really different from the type of agriculture and the type of community action that a lot of people are used to, we thought it would be fun in the winter to come out and give you a sense of what permaculture is about. So what I want to do tonight is provide an opportunity to define what permaculture is, talk about where it came from, how do we get this funny word that we're dealing with and so many of us are so excited about, talk about why we want to use permaculture as a framework for sustainability and how we want to work towards a more sustainable earth, community, neighborhood, yard. And most of tonight I'll focus on the ethics and the principles of permaculture, and I'll share a lot of examples with you from the site that we have in Plymouth, New Hampshire, as well as other sites where I've been taking students and doing work within the region and abroad. We have one of the largest footprints in the world, but if you look at each nation for the footprint of their occupants, we're using more than 1.5 planets. It's kind of crazy that we're all kind of okay with that. Like, all right, we're using more than the planet we actually have because we have technology and we have fossil fuels, which are just amazing. Fossil fuels are wonderful. They're incredibly energy dense. They're really cheap overall. Even though we think gas prices go up, we feel the shock. They're incredibly effective for what they do. And in a lot of ways, we're wasting them. So this is not a cycle that I see going very far. I mean, how long can we continue to outstrip our own planet and think that it's going to be okay? So this is where we shift from, this is pretty sad, and we shift to how do we do things differently. We take personal responsibility. When we think about the future, there are a lot of questions. What's going to happen? So this is a graph that was put together by David Holmgren, who I talked about, that basically shows, over time, over 10,000 years, our evolution as a species on the planet, how we have continued to industrialize, which in a lot of ways has made life a lot better for a lot of people. No argument there. It's definitely made it easier. And we have access to a lot more. And there are a lot of good things that have come out of that. But now, we have such a number of people consuming such an amount of energy every year and producing higher and higher amounts of waste that have to be handled, and now e-waste and other stuff, that we're up at this point here. And I use the analogy with students that it's like we've climbed a mountain. So my students are in New Hampshire, so they think about the White Mountains, and they think about the fact that they've climbed up, they're above tree line, they're at this wonderful place, like they've worked their whole day, or you've worked your whole life to get to that place, but now you're completely exposed. So if a storm's coming, you can pick the storm, or the combination of storms. If a storm's coming, what do? Do you stay up at the top and hope that it's going to be okay? You probably head down back below tree line. It doesn't mean that we want to head in the direction in the future where civilization crashes and there's misery and a lot of suffering. Not at all. I think that's absolutely what we want to avoid. But it also doesn't mean that we can just continuously wake up every day and think that somewhere there's a smart child, maybe Chris's brother, who's coming up with the answer, no pressure, that's going to create all the energy that we'll ever need. Well, my car's running right now, actually, because I feel that confident. So the techno-fantasy makes us all feel better. If I have a bad day, I think, somebody else is going to solve this. I don't have to worry about it. It's not likely, because there's no combination of energy sources that will do what fossil fuels do. We're really going to miss them when they're gone. Green tech stability is kind of where we're at now. It's where Europe was 10 years ago, but it's kind of where we're going as a country, as a community, where we're starting to be smart enough to switch things out and say, this is not a green alternative. I can still accomplish the goal with a better product. And maybe we can stabilize our consumption, energy consumption, waste production. Maybe we can stabilize it. We're not at a sustainable level if we're just below the peak of this mountain. So where permaculture goes, and what I'm going to share with you tonight, is what we call creative descent, or earth stewardship, or transition. Transition is a lot of what started the project here in Smithfield, and I'll let those guys talk about that a little bit more. But this whole idea of how can we collectively come together and identify what the challenges are in our community. Is it types of homes that are available and price of homes? Is it food production? Is it energy? Is it access to medical? Like, there are a lot of challenges in any community. And we have the ability to start to create some of the solutions. Some of them might need years and years of work, and some of them might be more immediate. But if we take the ownership and we work together, like a community, then we can start to creatively descend. We can start to make some decisions about, you know what, let's count on not bringing as many fossil fuels in. But what does that mean? How are we going to heat homes different? How are we going to grow food different? And the way that's being applied in communities around the world is resulting in lots of different solutions. There's no standard set of solutions if you become a transition town. They don't send you guys the list of solutions. Does anybody have a definition of permaculture? Something they've heard that they want to throw out there? Nobody's excluded. Any of you can participate.
Is it permanent agriculture?
Permanent agriculture. Permaculture, that's where the root of the word came from. It now means a lot more than just agriculture. So we'll try to expand on that tonight so you have a sense of all the things it can mean. Does anyone else have a sense of some of the other themes that are covered in permaculture beyond agriculture? Yes?
Sustainability.
Sustainability. Other specifics. Multiple uses. Yeah, we're looking for multiple uses that will help us meet our sustainability. Permaculture is a philosophy of working with rather than against nature. Boom, I was hooked. That's when I knew that I wanted to work with permaculture, because it was more nature-focused. It had an ecological approach to things. That wasn't the experience that I had as a professional planner working in towns. That it's a protracted and thoughtful observation. We're taking the time, we're observing, we're asking questions, we're learning about systems before we're making decisions that are going to alter them, possibly forever. It's of looking at plants and animals and all their functions. It's knowing that each element of the landscape is doing a number of things and has really complex relationships with the other trees and plants and fungi and animals that we maybe can't see or don't fully understand. And we want to get a better understanding of all the functions that they serve before we decide to remove them or add new elements to the landscape. So this is one definition. It's by a guy by the name of Bill Mollison, who I'll talk about a little bit more as we move on. I think this is a better definition. This is like, if I could commit this to memory, this would be my elevator speech definition. That permaculture is an approach to designing human settlements and agricultural systems, so it gets at the permanent agriculture piece, that are modeled on the relationships found in natural ecologies. So permaculture, human systems are modeled on natural systems. What does that mean in the end? It means that humans are intervening all the time. This library wasn't always here. The parking lots and the roadway and all the things that are here, they weren't always here. There were other natural ecosystems here. Now these are here, and they're also part of ecosystems. And they're of different quality. So at the end of the day, we are ecosystem designers. And you can either say, like, humans are ecosystems designers and feel really bad about it because we don't do a very good job. Or you can get excited and say, I'm interested in permaculture because I want to be an ecosystem designer. I want to design really wonderful ecosystems that meet human needs, but not at the exclusion of other species.